Word on the street is that keto, carnivore, and fasting are going to tank your hormones. Women, you're going to lose your fertility, tank out that progesterone. Men, you're going to lose your testosterone, going to go down the drain. Now, you guys know I don't like black and white thinking on this channel, so let's break this down. Let's talk about this a little bit. Welcome back. My name is Sarah. I'm known as Carnivore Yogi. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. Today, we're going to talk about how to not tank your hormones using keto, carnivore, and fasting, what you do if you have done that, and again, how to prevent doing that. Now, if you have been around for a little bit, I have been documenting my journey over the last couple of years, talking about my own personal experience with carnivore and fasting, now doing a little bit more keto type of approach, but I have a lot of experience with this hormonal section, so progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, and the thyroid hormones and cortisol hormones as well. I think that these protocols get a really bad rap from a lot of people who don't really know them. They're not really familiar with them, and that's one of the first things people will say is like, don't do these approaches, they're going to wreck your hormones. But let's talk about how we can actually still utilize these approaches without experiencing those hormonal issues. First of all, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I am a certified nutrition coach and I do help clients with these issues. And second, thank you to Let's Get Checked for sponsoring today's video. Now, this is again a service that I have used over the last couple of years to check in on my hormones and my balance overall to see if what I'm doing is working or what I'm doing is not working. Now, you can go to your doctor and get blood work run, absolutely, but I love Let's Get Checked because it is a simple test. You go online, order it, they send it to you, you do the test at home, send it back to them. It's very easy, it's not painful, and it's just a great way to check in on yourself. So I have checked my hormones and thyroid probably every 6 to 8 weeks over the last year or so, just again to see if what I'm doing is working. And one thing I love is that you can just order what you want. A lot of times people will go to the doctor and they'll get pushback on ordering tests like progesterone, which is crazy to me, but it's very important. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having any issues with your cycle, that's the first place to look, is that low progesterone. Men, usually the first place to look is your testosterone. The other thing is I hear from a lot of people that their doctor will only test their TSH when they test thyroid, and that's not going to give you a full picture of what's really going on with your thyroid. So you also want to do your T3, T4, and those TPO antibodies. Again, Let's Get Checked. There's a link below to get that full thyroid panel, and that is something I think that people should continue to check in on. Test, don't guess. And Let's Get Checked makes it easy. You can use my code YOGI20 and get 20% off. And thank you so much again to Let's Get Checked for sponsoring this video. All right, so let's talk about the first thing, which I think is very important before we dive into different protocols, and that is ages and stages. So how old are you and what are you doing, right? So if I meet someone in their 20s, a lot of times that are doing these protocols, they'll tell me, I'm doing OMAD and I feel great, 1 meal a day, I'm doing great. I'm doing a 16-8 every day, or I'm doing a 4-hour eating window every day, I'm feeling amazing. You know, I hear a lot more of that from the crowd in their 20s. And then also women that are more menopausal. And this is also not the case for everyone. I'll talk about how to kind of work around these things. But you can't compare yourself to somebody that's in a different age and stage than you. If you are in your 40s, you don't want to be doing what a 25-year-old is doing or a 24-year-old. You don't have the same mitochondrial function. As we age, we lose that mitochondrial function. And so our body's ability to deal with these stressors like fasting, like carnivore, like keto, goes down. And we have to be more careful in how we approach these things. So really, you know, comment below, let me know where you're at. How old are you? What are you doing? Is it working? Is it not working? Have you tanked your hormones, or are you trying to prevent that? Again, comment below, let me know kind of where you are in your journey. So ages and stages, very, very important. As we get over 35, ladies, we have to be a lot more careful with how we approach these things, and I will talk about how I approach them in a cyclical kind of a manner coming up. The second thing is eating enough total food in general. So we can calorie restrict and cause these same issues. So you want to make sure that you're eating enough food. That is very, very, very important. So let's jump into fasting first, and then we'll look more at carnivore keto. So fasting is extremely trendy right now. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are doing 1 meal a day, they're doing a 16-8, and they could be experiencing some hormonal issues. Now, the things you want to look for again is a sleep disruption, women starting to have issues with your cycle. Again, you can test, but your symptoms are very, very important. So again, Let's Get Checked is a great way to check in on these things. But how do you feel? How are you sleeping? How are you moving about in the world? How is that working for you? I find for women and for myself, now that I do some fasting, I took a full year off of fasting. I think I've mentioned that because I had really lost my cycle. My sleep was terrible. I was just having a host of hormonal issues. My thyroid was low. My progesterone was low. All these things when I tested them were low, low, low. So I took literally a whole year off of fasting. And now I am doing it. But when I fast, it is only on days 1 through 10 of my cycle, and I don't do it every single day. So I think this is important no matter what age and stage you're in, is that you're not doing it every single day, because if you do, your body starts to get used to that and your metabolism will start to regulate down to that level. So you're essentially going to slow the functions of the body down if you're doing these things all the time. And I don't really do extended fasting. I have done a couple of extended fasts over the last few months, but I don't do them on a regular basis. So I think that you can look at someone and perhaps they're doing a 48-hour fast every single week, or a 36-hour fast, or one of these longer fasts every single week. Look at the age and stage that they're in, and maybe their body can handle that stress right now. But if you continue to do that, you're going to either push your body into that next stage. So some women will start to put themselves into an early perimenopause. I've seen this happen with women in their 20s. And if you're in your 30s and early 40s, you could throw yourself into an early menopause from doing these things. And again, I want to hear from you guys in the comments, is this something that you have experienced? And so days 1 through 10, I will do a little bit of fasting, or if I'm going to do extended fasting, it happens during that time, but it won't happen back to back every single day. During ovulation, I kind of give myself a little break from any kind of fasting. After ovulation, I do a little bit of fasting, but I don't push it very much. And then the days leading up to my cycle, I don't do any fasting at all. And typically my hunger cycles are very much in line with that. Now, women, if you're already in menopause or your cycles have started to become irregular, I recommend going by the moon cycle. So perhaps using the new moon as day 1 of your cycle and following in that pattern of the moons. Maybe taking a break during the full moon and then taking a break again right before the new moon. I think that can be really useful. And I think that the big thing with fasting for men and for women both is variation. You don't want to be doing this every single day, because again, your body is very smart. Your body wants to keep you alive. And if you're constantly doing this over and over again every single day with no break, you will most likely start to, first of all, get issues with your sleep, and then the other things will start to cascade in as you start to lower those hormones. So do you need to eat carbs during those ovulation and before your cycle times? You know, I'm not really sold on this. I have been able to really get my hormones back into a good place by really going high fat. Now, I did high fat 24 hours a day for a full year. I just did it for a straight year. High fat is in eating at least 80% of my calories from fat and 20% from protein. I even went higher than that for a while. I would go 85 or 90% of my calories from fat, 10% from protein. I did that for about a year, you guys. And again, my thyroid came back, my sex hormones came back, all those things came back, but I'm not necessarily doing that now. I have started adding a little bit more variety into my diet. I'm not going down the carb hole, but during those times of ovulation and before my cycle, if I'm not going super high fat, I am adding in more avocado, more low anti-nutrient vegetables, and getting the carbs up a little bit in that way. I'm not going and eating rice and pasta and those things during that time, or cupcakes and ice cream. Like, people, you say carbs and people immediately go there. I'm doing it more in kind of a paleo type of approach or even keto type of approach. And it's always during the ovulation and before my cycle, most likely. And if I don't do that, then my fat is super, super high. So do you need carbs in order to get your hormones to work properly? I don't really think that you do necessarily, but you probably will want to try this higher fat approach in order to not to start to see those hormones have issues. Again, this is dependent upon ages and stages. The next thing I want to talk about is gut issues. A lot of people don't understand that your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones, those things are really processed in the gut. And if you have gut dysbiosis, then you are going to more than likely run into these issues with your hormones, with your thyroid, all of this, because a lot of those hormones are manufactured there in the gut. So I have continued to test my gut health with a company called Thrive, and I'll put them below this video as well as use their customized probiotics to keep my gut in balance. So we have to look at gut health when we're looking at hormonal disruption. We often just want to jump straight to the food without looking at lifestyle, without looking at, are you fasting too much? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you do you have a really stressful life with maybe you're a caregiver to a parent or a caregiver to really small children or children with special needs? We have to look at those things as well when it comes into hormone, and then we have to look at our gut. Is your gut healthy? Do you have low stomach acid? When people are stressed out, they will have low stomach acid and they will lose enzymatic function. So these are some things I've had to work on for myself. A lot of you guys have seen my gut health playlist. I'll link that below. But I have added in those Thrive custom probiotics. I use those, and I also use the Microbiome Labs products. I have also added in HCl to add some stomach acid support and some enzymatic support, and I will link the ones that I have used below, because that has also made a huge difference in my body's ability to keep my hormones regulated, keep my thyroid in a good place. It's not necessarily all about the food all the time. The other thing we have to take into consideration here is mineral imbalances, and we are a lot more susceptible to mineral imbalances with a keto carnivore and with a fasting lifestyle, because our body is letting go of a lot of water with these approaches. And when we lose a lot of water, we also lose minerals. So this is something that people kind of ignore, they don't pay attention to, and it can really cause issues. If your potassium is low, this will cause wear and tear on your thyroid. If these different minerals are off balance, even your sodium, potassium, it's going to influence your sugar handling, your body's ability to balance your blood sugar. And this in tune will kind of wear and tear on those adrenals, which in tune will drag your sex hormones down, drag your thyroid hormones down. All of these things are very important. So I'm going to link below a company that I've used to test my own mineral status, as well as some supplementation that I have done with these minerals as I've implemented these protocols. I know this is a lot, but I do want to encourage you to work with someone if you are having these problems. If you know that when you eat carbohydrates and you eat a higher glycemic diet, you just don't feel well, you don't feel your best, and you still want to implement keto, carnivore, low carb, and fasting into your life, I think working with someone could be that missing piece to helping you optimize, to helping you say, okay, during these days you can fast, during these days go a little bit harder with the keto, go harder with the carnivore, during these days let's see if we can either take that fat up super, super high, or maybe add in some vegetables for our carbohydrates, maybe add in some avocado and things like that if your gut is healthy enough to tolerate it. And again, working with someone will help you figure out whether or not you do need some gut support. Everything that I use will be linked below, so you guys can check that out. And I hope this has been helpful. So comment below, let me know if you have questions, and I'll talk with you guys in the next video. Bye.